War Correspondent, put out by the Directorate of Public Relations, the Australian Army. Not a lot is known about the series apart from the fact that it was recorded by Robert Peach Productions. The NFSA records in Canberra is bare as to other details. These stories about Australia's fighting men tell tales of heroism, endurance, sacrifice, or sheer skill in many and varied theatres of war where they were involved. Leading actors were engaged for the series. The program's intro music is The Challenge, written by Charles Williams, played by the Queen's Hall Light Orchestra. Text Alex Hare.
The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. In time of war, there are men who rise head and shoulders above their comrades, either by heroism, endurance, sacrifice, or sheer skill. And likewise, in warfare, there are units, organizations consisting mainly of men drawn from all walks of life, knit together, and by their united heroism, endurance, sacrifice, and sheer skill, rise as an example to others. By their achievements in adversity, are such units remembered. We remember and honor the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps that sailed out of Madras Bay on the 14th of April 1915 to land at Garbatip. We remember with pride the 9th Australian Division at El Alamein. And we remember too the stand of the 3rd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment at Kap Yong in Korea. But the story I'm about to tell you is a story of a unit of which most of you have never heard. Its work was behind the scenes, and its achievements didn't figure in battle communiques. But its triumph over adversity and its devotion to duty in all the terrible circumstances was an example as Australian soldiers came to grips with the Japanese in the fight for New Guinea and the other islands to the north of Australia. The time was in mid-1942, when the Japanese were thrusting forward strong in sea and air power, and with a mighty army as yet unimpaired by defeat. The place where this story unfolded was Milne Bay, a steaming, festering, swampy shelf on the malarial-ridden tail of New Guinea. A sweltering land strip that gave itself up to jungle, a boggy foothold below the spurs of the Owen Stanley Ranges. And yet it was desired by the Japanese as a vital stepping-off place for their assault against Port Moresby. In August 1942, the Japanese made 3 determined landings in the area, and bitter was the fight that ensued. But that comes later in our story. The story begins on August the 21st, 1942, just 3 days before New Guinea coast watchers saw the first Japanese invasion heading at full speed towards Milne Bay. It was on August the 21st as more than 7,000 Australian soldiers stood to in their defensive positions around Milne Bay that 3 Australian troop ships drew into harbour at Milne Bay and discharged the 110th Australian Army Casualty Clearing Station.
Hey, this is no good, Copper. Let's feel your pulse. Yeah. Come on. Just get my arm under your shoulders. I'm going to put you somewhere dry and get you wrapped up in blankets. Then we'll give you something to get this fever down. Come on now, that's it. I'll get my shoulder under you. Come on now. How long have you had this, Copper? Not longer, eh? Looks like a sharp attack. This is drier here. At least it's not mud. This is Milne Bay. Just stinking mud and malaria. Come on, Copper. Wrap this ground sheet round you. I'll get a jeep and get you shifted to the field ambulance. Let's if a jeep can move through this mud. What a welcome to Milne Bay. Rain that you can't see through. Ah, well, give the blokes time to unload the equipment without the Zeros getting onto them. There you are, copper. Now, get this quinine into you. Come on, open up.
I'll be right.
You'll be right, sure enough, copper. Right under this Milne Bay mud, unless I get you to treatment soon. Come on, swallow this.
Right at 30 degree. Up 100. Fire!
Now, take it easy, copper. Just take it easy. You won't be seeing a gun for a while. Now, take it easy now. You'll be fighting the war from a hospital bed for a while. That's if we can get our hospital up. By the way our stores are being dumped in the mud down there for the unloading point, we won't have any hospital left. Now, rest easy. I'll see if I can scrounge a jeep. Are you, copper? You gonna live?
Could be. Worse luck. Where am I?
Now, take it easy now. You're in hospital. You're in the 110th Casualty Clearing Station. You're in good hands, copper, so just relax. Our motto is never lose a paying customer, and we'll do that for you. Just so long as you don't slip over in the mud. Then you'll vanish from sight.
But where?
Now, don't go getting yourself upset. You're in hospital. There's nothing to worry about. Admittedly, this is no private ward in the Royal Prince Alfred in Sydney, but well, it's the best hospital round these part. We landed off the troop ships just 2 days ago. Our CO, Colonel Wall, is battling round through the mud with Colonel Maitland and the other big shots to find us a better posse. Yeah, we had 10 inches of rain the day we landed. Every piece of equipment got a good soaking, then a mud bath. But that's our worry. We've got 100 or so booms clearing a space in the kunai grass up past some place they call Sago Swamp. Sounds tasty, doesn't it? Oh, that reminds me. The boys are trying to get a kitchen up. Then we'll see if we can't get some tucker in here. We'll have those guns manned, eh? How you feeling now, copper?
I'm feeling a lot better. Thanks for picking me up. It was you who picked me up, wasn't it?
Couldn't leave you lying there in the mud. You look too comfortable. Now, let's check the vital statistics. Stick this in your mouth. Let's have your wrist.
When are we going?
If you're asking when you can get out, I'd say you can forget it for a couple of weeks. Anyway, it's cozy here now. We've got 30 beds in, and the tents are nicely camouflaged with palm leaves and mud. Another thing, we're in the 2nd 9th Battalion area, so if the Japs come along, we'll have someone to look after us. Yeah, your temp's down again. It's a real seesaw, isn't it? Up at night, down in the morning.
The Japs?
Oh, don't worry about them. They're reported heading this way by sea, but we've got good battalions here. They might land, but they won't stay. Not unless they're mad. We've been here 4 days now, and from mine, the Japs can have it. That's the only entertainment we've got. The RAF boys got 2 zeros earlier today. Oh, can you see through that tent flap?
Yeah. Say, what's your name?
Call me Doc. Of course, I'm no doctor, you know that. Just a nurse without skirts. But there's no doctors anymore, all captains and majors. See them coming over the tops of the trees?
Yeah. Good view of them, eh? The fellow feels helpless lying here in bed.
Don't worry about nip planes. They can't see us in here among these coconut palms and kunai grass. They'll have to get a direct hit on you to do any damage. The mud outside's so thick it's up to your knees, no kidding. No vehicles can get along our approach road. No, copper. I'm more scared of Colobi Creek about 100 yards up above us. Goes up and down like your fever. I hope you don't go too high or we'll end up down in the sea. Oh, there go our fighters.
They've got one, Doc. They've got one.
Sure, but you just get your head back on that pillar or I'll close the tent flap up. We're here to cure you, not bring on a relapse. Cost the government a lot of money to ship this 600-bed hospital up here. You show your gratitude by getting better. Douse that cigarette, copper. You're too sick to smoke.
Funny thing, you saw me smoking this afternoon. You didn't say anything? What's it doing, Doc? The Japs?
As far as I know, the nearest Japs in Tokyo.
That's not the way it sounded when I heard a couple of the other orderlies talking tonight.
Oh, okay. Jap warships have been sighted out there, and Jap landing barges are headed towards us. Be here before dawn. That's why the boys are busy getting the operating theatre together. It's too muddy to transport the equipment, so we've got to manhandle it. But she'll be all right. Small and muddy and inside the 2nd 9th Battalion area, but she should do as an operating theatre. Oh, now you got the whole picture. What about snatching some shut-eye?
Fine chance, knowing the Japs are heading in. I couldn't sleep.
Yes, you can. Get these tablets into you. Go on, down with them. That's right. When you wake up, you might find one of those pretty Jap nurses holding your hand.
How are we making out, Doc?
Fine, fine. We got 50 beds up now. 2 surgical teams working round the clock. We're really moving.
I mean about the Japs.
Oh, them. They're under control. The boys of the 61st, those CMF lads, really gave the Japs curry. Lads were in catches coming from Gilly Gilly. They ran into the Jap landing barges and turned on a real blue. They sank some of the Jap barges, lost a catch themselves, but the other got away. The RAAF boys sank a Jap landing craft and damaged others.
But the Japs landed.
Sure they landed, but the 61st militia lads stopped the rot, put a Jap tank out of action with hand grenades and forced the Japs back from round KB Mission. Can you hear the RAAF fighters and bombers handing it out to the Japs who are still on shore?
Now and then. But, Doc, there'll be more Japs coming.
Could be, and they'll get the same reception their mates are getting. Now, don't let it get your pulse rate up.
And what about my mob? The 2nd 5th Field Regiment. How are they holding out, Doc?
The drop shorts. They never get near enough to get hurt. Now, just a couple more tablets. When you wake up, war will be won. There you are. You awake, Cover?
What do you think? That racket's enough to keep anyone awake. What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. Just want to see if you're awake. You might have to do a bit of a shift in a hurry. Oh, nothing to worry about.
No. By the sound of that firing, there'll be nothing to worry about.
Oh, it's a fact. The Japs have cut through the 2nd 10th Battalion with tanks, but that means nothing. Look at the way our boys did over the Jap flamethrower and those other Jap tanks with grenades. It's nothing to worry about. Just looks bad out there in the dark. The trouble is, the boys from the 61st Battalion have been in it for 2 nights now, and it's a lot of fighting. The ones we're getting in here are coming in pretty tired.
I don't like the sound of it, Doc.
I tell you, she's Jake.
Sounds like it. We've got to be ready to shift. The Japs cut through the 2nd 10th, and the 61st is feeling the pressure.
So what? The Japs have been trying for the airstrip, but the boys from the 25th Battalion are there with those Yank machine gunners. We're as safe as houses. Casualty clearing. Yeah, Doc here. Oh, how's it going, Joe? Uh-huh. Yeah, good out. Yeah, she'll be apples. What did I tell you? Everything's fine. Our boys have held the Japs back from the airstrip, and the Japs have abandoned a couple of tanks. They're stuck in the mud. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Oh, yes, and we'll just have to move you temporarily.
Yeah?
Yeah. Seems like somebody's got a bee in his bonnet. Maybe panicked a little. Just a sort of formal warning gone out about Japanese infiltrating into our area. We've just got to shift back a bit from the edge of the jungle. You know, just a precaution.
Are they going to put guards around us?
Well, no, not exactly. We're a bit outside the defense area, but we've got listening posts out. We'll be right. You'll see.
3 days before the Japanese attack on Milne Bay, the 110th Casualty Clearing Station landed as a hospital for the Australian forces in the area. Handicapped by a constant deluge of rain and often unable to move because of mud, they erected their tents in the best of the shocking country. The surgical section, working under extraordinary difficulties, dragged the generator into the muddy area by jeep, and within 20 hours the unit was ready for action. Then the Japanese made their first of 3 landings, and casualties began to flow into the hospital, often brought in by tracked vehicles. The surgical teams worked day and night, and the hospital, only a collection of mud-daubed tents draped with palm branches and sagging in the soaking kunai grass, functioned efficiently. Fighting the constant rain, the cloying mud, the malaria, and poisonous soil that floated above seeping water, the hospital had to give thought to possible penetrations by Japanese. Water was short, and at times had to be carried from creeks or caught in tent flies. Rations were short, and there was a shortage too of essential medical supplies. Scrub typhus revealed itself, and there came reports of further Japanese amphibious forces headed towards Milne Bay. Faced with these handicaps, in an area where thousands of men were locked in a life and death struggle, the gallant hospital went about its task of caring for and healing the sick and wounded.
What would be your diagnosis of that, Doc?
Nothing to worry about. Probably the Japs celebrating the Emperor's birthday.
Very plausible. If you're talking to a gunner, I'm going to tell you that's a naval ship.
Yeah, that'd be right. They told us this morning we could expect a naval bombardment tonight. But that's nothing to worry about. That means we have to go without smokes and be careful with lights. Those Japs never hit anything, just fire blindly. And by the sound of that rain, the Japs won't be able to see the shore, let alone any targets. Good night to be home in bed with a good book, eh?
Yeah. And a cup of cocoa and about 10 slices of toast, well buttered, and a couple of chicken legs to finish up on.
Yeah, you might have something there. Tucker's been a bit on the beak lately, hasn't he?
You can say that again. Biscuits and bully beef. Anyone mentions bully to me after the war, I'll crown him.
You see one of the cooks today making some pretty good bread out of flour that was damaged by rain. Mixed it with fermented coconut juice. You know, sort of homemade yeast. Yeah, it looked all right, I can tell you, Copper.
Yeah, I reckon it would too. Anything to eat would look all right just now.
Well, talking won't put anything under the belt. Anyway, we're not badly off. The surgical teams working out there in the mud are really earning it the hard way. Our mate Eureka, he's heading both teams. He's crook himself, but he keeps on going. I tell you, he can have that job for mine. Second ninth blokes make the surgical fellows keep a real strict blackout. And she gets mighty steamy in that marquee while they're operating, which is all the time. Gets so thick you can hardly breathe in there. I tell you, those jokers earn their pips.
That's for sure. Yeah, you blokes do a mighty job.
I had some of the Army medical big shots up today to have a look at our blokes' work. Brigadier Johnston and Colonel Maitland came in to have a look at the area. The main dressing stations were cut off by floods. The creek ford at Flying Fox was under 7 feet of water. All the bridges were out. They saw a 10-wheeled truck carrying casualties go under, trying to cross one of the creeks. I reckon that when they get back to headquarters, they'll requisition an ark for us.
You told me before they were bringing in casualties by boat.
Yeah, that's right. Been doing it for days now. Just as safe on the creeks and around the beaches as it is on the roads now. The roads have broken right away. Too much traffic and too much rain. Yeah, I don't know how the second ninth boys will go.
Second night?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't know. They moved out tonight to see how good the Japs are.
I'd like to be out there with them. Fella feels a bit of a loafer lying in here while the others are out there fighting. When do you reckon I'll be right to rejoin the unit, Doc?
Depends how you look after yourself. Sooner the better as far as we're concerned. Oh, don't really mean that, Copper. But I tell you, the position here is getting sticky. Our surgeons have done 96 ops in the past 7 days. 76 operations out in that primitive operating field.
96 in 7 days. Makes you think, Doc.
Sure. I guess there'll be close to 400 sick blokes and about 160 wounded lying around in these tents and native-type huts. Sort of taxes the medical setup, particularly when there's no facilities. You know, no sanitary setup of convalescent places, stuff like that. Oh, but she won't be long. I picked up a message on the bush wireless today.
Yeah?
Now, keep it to yourself. Don't want the fellas to get all head up and then find it's a furphy.
Not a word to a soul, Doc.
Hospital ship's due.
You fair dinkum? When, Doc? When's she due?
Now, don't forget, keep it to yourself. Any day now. She's left Brisbane. And the next thing you'll see her sitting out there with big red crosses on her.
What about the Japs, Doc? These warships firing at us tonight. Well, they're going to have a go at her, aren't they?
Time will tell that, Copper. We can only try. I'll tell you something else, too. Unless you have a relapse, you're going to be allowed to sit outside for a while tomorrow. Maybe you can see her come in. That's if no relapse, mind. Well, Copper, how's it feel out in the open?
Like winning the lottery, Doc. Oh, but hell, what a mess she is outside here. Mud, abandoned trucks, trees smashed.
There's been a war on. But you got something better to look at. Haven't you had a look out the harbour in the last few minutes?
Doc, the hospital ship.
Yeah, the good old Manunda. Ah, picture, isn't she? Just coming in as the sun's setting.
Picture is right, Doc. Clean sheets, good tucker. No mud. And look, she's just turned the lights on.
So the Japs will know she's a hospital ship. I hope they do, because the second first casualty clearing station's aboard her. Stores and personnel. And we could certainly do with a hand out here.
And these wounded blokes, they have to get away from this neck of the woods, Doc. Nobody really crooked's got much of a show here.
Ah, there's a lot against a sick man here. The climate, the malaria, lack of food and proper equipment. The whole place is disease-ridden. Soil's rotten with germs. The scrub typhus. Everything's against the man here, Copper. The sooner we get the sick blokes onto that ship, the better. Doc, hey, break it down. The sick bloke's here. What's the matter?
The Japs. That was a naval shell.
Hell, still what? Look out there through the slit in the tent. You see her? She's still there, isn't she?
Yeah. And all the lights on. What are the Japs shelling?
They brought in a Jap cruiser and a destroyer. Came in cheeky as monkeys. Closer than they've ever been before, and they swung their searchlights all over the Manunda. Had a real good look at her, then came closer and turned their guns onto that supply ship tied up at the wharf. It's the Anshan. Oh, look at her burning.
But they left the hospital ship alone, eh?
Up to date they have. I'd like to see all the sick aboard and the Manunda heading for home. That's what I want to see.
Why aren't they getting the sick blokes aboard, Doc?
Oh, a bit of a hold-up. That supply ship the Jap cruiser sank last night has blocked the jetty. We've got to take them all out by the ship's lifeboats. You see? There goes the first of them now.
Yeah, I see them. Half their luck.
What's the matter? You're right now. Near enough. And just when she's all over, bother shouting.
I wasn't much good to the regiment, was I, Doc? The fella couldn't have picked a worse time to get malaria. Look at them now. They're hoisting the lifeboats up the side.
That's the only way they could get the stretchers off. Not being alongside the jetty makes it a real slow job. Yeah, I reckon now they'll be here for a couple of days unloading instead of moving out tonight.
Sort of tempting fate.
Yeah, sort of. But my guess is she'll be all right. That stands to reason the Japs must have given orders to leave her alone, or that cruiser would have sunk her last night.
I hope you're right, Doc. But the way I'm thinking is that there isn't much reason in this war. Not the way the Japs are fighting it anyway.
Well, I was right about last night, Copper. Those Jap warships paid us another visit, but they left the Manunda alone.
Thank God, Doc. Didn't see a picture sitting out there?
The prettiest part of the picture is those slings they're unloading from her. That's the stores for the field hospital coming here to give us a hand. Yeah, it certainly is pretty. Ah, Nip Eggbeater's going to pay us another visit. You see him yet?
No. Yes, I do. Look, right across the other side of the harbour. There's a few of them. You see now they're heading this way.
Yeah, I see him. I see the Manunda, too.
They're not going
Aren't they? There go the eggs.
The swine! Oh, but they missed her, Doc. It was only a stray and they missed her.
But close enough to make the Manunda up anchor and get half of the other hospital stores on, too, I reckon. Yeah. Yeah, they're going to pull out. I don't blame them. Give our regards to Port Moresby, blokes. And don't drink all the beer when you get down south.
Oh, cheer up, Doc. And don't go all weepy on us. Hey, aren't you the same bloke that was giving me the big sales talk last night about the Japs having pulled out from Mill Bay under that fire from the warships? Weren't you telling me it was all over by the shouting? That there were only stragglers left now in the jungle and our blokes were mopping them up? What's the matter, pal?
Oh, nothing really, Copper. Nothing. Just looking at that ship go, sort of remembering what it's like to have everything at your fingertips in a hospital. Having a clean antiseptic surgery where a wounded bloke has a fighting chance. I was just forgetting the shambles here. Oh, but we'll be right, you'll find. We've got the best medicine to cure any ills now. Our blokes are giving the Japs a licking. That'll put new life into them. Gotcha. That's the next one we gotta beat. The Mozzie. He's knocking off more of the blokes than the Nip.
In the 6 days of fighting, the soldiers and airmen on that muddy, spongy swamp around the fringe of Milne Bay killed more than 700 Japanese, and another 300 were sunk with a troopship bombed during one of the 3 landings. For our part, we lost 200 killed and wounded, and we would have lost many more had it not been for the skill and devotion of the medical services in that evil area. With the final destruction of the enemy there, the 110th Casualty Clearing Station built a fine hutted hospital on healthier ground, and then, re-equipped and refreshed, turned to fight another war, the war against malaria. And in that Milne Bay area where the Japanese was turned away from his goal, another victory was won. The medical services there provided a classic lesson in malarial prevention. It was a lesson that was to save many more Australian lives after the fighting passed.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations. The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. These days, we hear and read a great deal of the underground movements, the resistance fighters of Europe in World War II. But little is told about Australians who moved into enemy-held territory, organizing intelligence gathering and communication, and organizing resistance among the people of oppressed territories. In the Pacific, the underground war was not a matter of disguise, quick wits, subterfuge. It was not a hit-and-run war against a single enemy. It was a constant and continuing battle in isolation against the fanatical Japanese and their quislings. It was a constant battle against jungle terrain, starvation, disease, climate, loneliness, and despair. Later in the war, bands of Australians, well-trained, equipped, and prepared, went behind enemy lines. But the story I'm about to tell you is of a different band of Australians. A small group of soldiers from the 8th Division who escaped from their captors on Borneo and made their way by various means to the island of Mindanao in the Philippines, where Americans and Filipinos still resisted, fighting a running war with the Japanese. In those early days, the Australian underground fighters and their guerrilla bands lived off the land, fighting when they could, running when they had to, dying when all else was done. They won no great battles in those early days of Japanese victory, but they tied down thousands of the enemy, thousands of soldiers who might otherwise have moved on to lend their weight to the fight closer to Australia's shore. Typical of these Australian jungle fighters was Charlie Wagner of Sydney, dark and slightly built, a young soldier who'd been intelligence sergeant in the 2nd 18th Battalion in Malaya and who'd been promoted to lieutenant in the field. Brave, quick-witted, and skilled in jungle ambush, he had escaped from Borneo to carry on the fight against the Japanese.
Charlie Wagner. Charlie boy, you asleep?
Sort of, Jock. Half asleep. What's the matter?
I don't know. I just got a sort of feeling. Got a feeling there's something doing.
That'll be right, too. Down around New Guinea. Lie back and go to sleep. Don't pinch too much of this blanket.
No, Charlie. I've got this feeling.
Now, go to sleep, Jock. You've got that Christmas feeling, that's all. Go back to sleep. Sand's cold. Don't expect me to sleep when you're crouched up there holding more than your share of the blanket.
It's my Scotch blood, Charlie. I get this feeling when something's going to happen. I had it that time along the coast when those Japs landed and tried to cut us off.
Jock, will you do me a favor? Keep it till morning. It's after midnight, man. I'm hungry, I'm cold, and I'm tired. Let's get some sleep.
Full moon, Charlie. Right enough to read the paper by. Tide's right in, Charlie. Ideal for landing craft. Like the aircraft over us the past 3 days. The boom slipping away into the jungle, Charlie.
Jock, where are we right now?
On a beach on Mindanao.
How many of us?
Dozen of us all told, I suppose. Counting Yanks and Aussies.
Are we an important strategic force?
Well, no.
Well, get your head down and go to sleep. The Japs are busy with bigger headaches than we can give them.
Won't go along with you there, Charlie. They know we've got a coast watching station around here. They know we've put subs onto their transports. They know we've got a radio somewhere around here.
Okay, so they know. That's disturbing their sleep. Don't let it disturb ours. Come on, get your head down, old-timer. It's something you haven't eaten that's upsetting you.
Charlie Wagner, did you hear that?
No, Jock, not again. Do I have to suffer for your nightmares? Come on, let's get out of here. They caught us with our pants down properly, Jock. Where are they, do you reckon?
Get down in these shadows and listen. They're in the jungle behind us. 10 to 1, the cunning little animals landed up the coast before the moon got up. Then came around to cut us off along the beaches. Look at it out there. White as day.
It sounds like they're coming behind the village.
That means their information's good. They know we're down here on the beach and that the radio is up on the side of the hill.
And if they know that, they'll know where the Filipina guerrilla hospital is. You know what that means, Jock?
I know. That means they'll be able to wipe out about 350 of those native boys without any trouble. Most of them are too sick to move. And they've only got a few rifles between them anyway. Come on. What are we waiting for? You can see him now, Charlie.
Yeah. They've taken up position all around the village. See that movement over there along the edge of the jungle? See the movement there?
Aye. Plenty of it, too. And take a look up the hill there, Charlie. See where the mist's lifting a little over that first ridge? Now keep your eye on that and you'll see a flash of sunlight now and then. That'd be on bayonets, Jap bayonets. Now that means 3 different forces. One of them is concentrating on us, and the other 2 are heading up the mountainside for the guerrilla hospital and our radio. Must be more than 1,000 Japs landed. Biggest stoush they've ever put on.
Wonder why they don't attack.
Probably reckon we're ready for them.
How timid can they get? Handful of us Aussies and Yanks lying on our bellies in a native village.
Oh, Lee's got the big mortar rigged up over there.
But 1000 of them, Jock, against a dozen of us and a mob of sick Filipino boys.
We've hit 'em hard before, Charlie, and they don't want another smack on the snout.
I wish they'd start something. I don't like lying here under cover doing nothing.
How are you guys?
Impatient, Colonel.
Can't say I am. I'm wondering why they haven't made a move.
Could be they just want to tie us down while they carry on with some other jobs, Colonel.
Could be.
Could be, too, that they want to take us in their own good time. First, clean up the radio station, then the hospital, then come back and finish us.
I'm afraid I've got to agree with that.
Well, Colonel, what do we do?
Maybe if we diverted the rats.
Can do, Colonel. What do you see, Charlie?
Suits me. But where are we going to find them away from this position?
There's Japanese at my house.
There's your answer, Charlie. What do you say, Colonel? We have a look-see. Maybe a diversion there. I'll draw them off here and give the lads time to get away from the radio station and the hospital.
I wish you would.
Okay, Colonel. When you hear the firing, you'll know we're drawing some attention. All right, Charlie?
Sure, Jock. Let's go. Be seeing you, Colonel. Hold it, Jock.
Huh?
Stand still. There's the Filipino house straight ahead. Pull aside those banana leaves, you'll see it.
That's it, all right. There's no sign of life, Charlie.
I'm not so sure, Jock. Look, isn't that someone standing there in the shadows by the corner? To the left of that coconut palm, by the steps up to the veranda.
You're right. Now, what's the strength of him? Just standing there on his lonesome.
I don't know. But I don't like it. He knows we're here, Jock. Look, he stepped out in the sunlight.
He's not one of our boys.
But he's wearing an American uniform. One of those Filipino constabulary uniforms the Filipino police wore before the Japs took over.
He looks calm enough, too. Standing there with his arms folded as though he's expecting us to come out and report to him. Something here I don't like. I tell you what it is, Charlie. For one thing, it's too quiet. And another thing, isn't that fresh-turned earth behind him in the shadows?
You're dead right.
Well, he can cop this.
One down and more to come. Look at them bobbing up rats out of their holes.
They're in the house, in those foxholes everywhere. She was an ambush, Charlie, and that fellow dressed like a Filipino was the bait.
We haven't got enough ammo to keep this crowd busy.
No, but we can let the boys know there's something doing. Come on, pump it all into them. Then let's make a dash down the track.
Here come the mortars.
My gun's empty. Come on, let's get out of this. Looks all right. The Japs have withdrawn a bit from the village to reinforce their cobbers up the track. There's Ray with a mortar. Ray! Slap on 1,000 yards and give him some mortar bombs back up there towards that Filipino house. That'll keep him busy for a while, Charlie, till we get out.
Not for long. We'll have to move quickly. Here they come through the trees, Jock.
Where? Yeah. Get down. We'll give them some fire until the boys can get that mortar away. It's the first one we've had, and we're not going to lose it first time we get into action. Get away with that mortar, boys! There's a fat Jap coming through those vines there! Another son of heaven with his ticket for home.
They're right onto us here, Jock. Makes it a bright Christmas, doesn't it?
Oh, hell. I'd forgotten it was almost Christmas Eve.
Well, I might forget anything in these circumstances. Hey, here's a Christmas box, Jock. Those Japs can't see us down here behind this grass. Look, see that Jap going up the tree? He's going to do a bit of spotting for his mates. We'll let him get a little higher. Now. Dropped like a sack of rice. And his mates don't know where we are.
They will when they get a mortar down.
Yeah, that's a fact, Jock. But what about we stir them up first, eh? What about we get around on their flank and stir them up a little?
Suits me. But remember, we've got to get back across this clearing and down the gully to join the boys.
We move fast, we can do it. What do you say? The boys should be well clear of that precious mortar by now.
Sure. Lead on, Charlie.
They're still firing at that place where we were. And there goes another ape up a coconut tree to see where we are.
Well, this is a good spot here, Charlie. Right on their flank.
That's right. Hold it. That ape up the trees is shouting down to him, telling him we've gone. Look at them, Jock. They're standing up. Now it's our turn. Give it to them, mate.
Down they go. Now we've got to make the dash across, okay?
Sure, let's go. Those bullets coming in closer, they'll tickle me.
I don't want to die laughing. Come on, dive for it. Here's the gully.
Having diverted the Japanese from the small band of guerrillas, the two Australians quickly overtook the others, still laughing at the trick they played on the enemy. That was typical of the type of men who chose to fight the Japanese under overwhelming odds. The cool, quick thinking in action was typical of Lieutenant Charles Arthur Wagner. While a sergeant in the first days of contact with the Japanese in Malaya, he had ambushed a party of senior Japanese officers. In a swift flurry of action, he wiped out the party. Then, while enemy reinforcements raced to the scene, he coolly rifled the pockets and document pouches of the senior officers, thus gaining valuable maps and other military intelligence. For that action, he was immediately awarded the DCM. But the enemy on Mindanao was now determined to pluck these Australian and American thorns from their flank, and they knew one certain way of doing that. Although many of the Filipino guerrilla patients had escaped from the jungle hospital, and the radio operators had been warned by the flare-up of firing, the Japanese had another scheme. They went back to the village which had been used as administrative headquarters by the guerrillas, and also as a storehouse. The Japanese knew that without food, the guerrillas could not continue to fight.
You dirty swine, Jock. See what they've done?
I can see, Charlie. They've tipped our flour out onto the ground and kicked it over the grass.
They reckon they can starve us out.
They've tried before.
But they've got nearly all our supplies this time.
I'm going down to see if I can salvage some.
There's too many sentries there, Jock. They've got them posted every few yards.
True, but it's pretty dark out of the moonlight. Have to take a chance. There might be stuff under some of those campones.
They're all filled with Japs, Jock.
They won't be expecting us to go searching under their floors. They'll be too busy celebrating their victory with the sake. Come on. There are only 4 houses down there. We can have a look under them. That's where the food was stored. Might still be some there they haven't destroyed.
All right. I'll come with you.
No, one's enough. You stay here and keep me covered. If they get on to me, you can keep them occupied until I get out. But I reckon I can get under there without those apes being any the wiser. Okay?
Right, Jock. Off you go and take it easy. I'll be right here at the edge of the jungle. Good luck, mate.
Another yard closer and there's a bayonet for you. You're lucky, Jap. Now, this was the main house. Used to keep some rice under here. You swine, everything's gone. That's right, have a good laugh. You'll be laughing on the other side of your Japanese faces before this show's over. Pity I didn't have some jelly to put under this floor. Charlie, you're there.
Same place, Jock. How'd you go?
San Ferian, sport. No dice. They've taken what they want and scattered everything else out on the ground. Looks like we'll have to get back to the rest of the boys and see if we can link up with some of the Filipino guerrilla boys further around the coast.
We'll get some tucker somewhere. What I'm wondering now is where these Japs landed. Maybe we should have a look at their landing point. Never can tell what we might find there.
You're right, Charlie. They would have come by barge across the bay. Maybe it might be worthwhile visiting their barges. Never know what you can find on a big island.
Especially around Christmas. What about we beat it now, eh? And pick up the rest of the lads and see if we can find where Nippon made his landings. Jock. There's a sight to gladden your eyes. What a picture. Clear, bright moonlight. Lovely, clear, sandy beach. And a nice little clutch of Japanese busily unloading barges.
Aye, there's a lovely sight, lads. Brains, 70 yards. No wind. Visibility clear. It's a pity to take the money. But, wait. Why not let them finish their unloading before we give them a Christmas present? I like to watch the Japs getting a sweat up.
It's very tempting, Jock. But this moon's not going to last all night, and we'll have to get away from the area before the other Japs can get down to give these blokes a hand.
Aye, you're right, Charlie. We'd better get it over and done with, eh?
Sure. Everyone set?
Yeah, we're right.
Okay. Give it to 'em, lads.
Ashamed to take the money. They never knew what struck 'em.
Some of them will be lying, doggo.
I'm going down to see. Might be some tucker there, too.
No, Jock, listen. Let's get out of here. Must have been a party of Japs coming down to the barges.
Nice place for an ambush.
Ah, we've had our fun, Jock. Let's get back and see if we can link up with the Filipino guerrillas down the coast. I could do with a feed and a sleep.
That's talking. Come on before these other nips wake up to where we are.
There's what we've been looking for, Jock. Home sweet home.
I don't know about home sweet home, but at least we should be able to get a sleep there and some tucker. How does it look to you? All quiet?
Yeah, she's all quiet. The Japs wouldn't have reached here by this time. Anyway, we don't know that they suspect this village is a guerrilla hideout, too.
They suspect everything. Well, come on. May as well walk on the road now. We're amongst friends. Home sweet home, eh? I hope they've got some rice cooking.
Yeah, I tell you. Lieutenant Wagner here, sentry. All quiet?
All quiet, Lieutenant.
Well, it's not so quiet back along the coast. Japs made a landing there night before last. Took us by surprise. You keep good watch here, eh?
Sure. Good watch, Lieutenant.
You know what the Filipinos' idea of good watch is, Charlie? It's a cross between Rip Van Winkle's doze and Lady Macbeth's sleepwalking act.
Oh, you're all right, Jock. They don't want to lose their heads either. They don't like the taste of a Jap sword any more than us. I was just about had it. Anyway, the sentry's given the alarm. Guerrillas are turning out.
Aye. The great ones had hanging bits of leaves and stuff on them.
Yeah, they'll be Jake. They're taking up ambush positions. Come in here.
Oh, good-o. A Filipino cafe.
I'll leave my eating till morning. This place will do to sleep in. We can keep an eye on the road through these ATAP walls.
Aye, and there's a window handy there if we have to get out in a hurry.
Yeah, except it's right over the river.
I can swim, if the Japs are on me hammer. Well, come on. Let's get the heads down. We can eat tomorrow.
Sure. I've never had a sweeter bed. Jock, I'm tired.
We all are, lad. Bone tired.
When do you reckon we'll get on a sub to take us back to Australia?
I'm not thinking of Australia, Charlie. There's plenty more fighting to be done.
You know, Jock, you know when you were talking there on the beach and said you had a feeling?
Aye. Sometimes I get a feeling, a sort of sixth sense that something's going to happen.
That's what I've got now, Jock. I've got the feeling I've had my last stoush.
You're tired, lad. Go to sleep. There's plenty more fighting to be done yet.
Not by me, Jock. Sleep tight, Jock. Sweet dreams.
Charlie Wagner, wake up and keep quiet.
What's the matter?
You're properly awake now.
Take her hand over.
You were choking me. What is it? Japanese. They're outside, all through the village.
The sentries.
Gone.
What's the time?
About midnight, I guess. The Japs must have been right after us. Listen to them. They don't know we're here.
Let's toss a grenade among them.
No, too many. I say let's shoot through.
Let's go.
They're outside the cafe now. The whole lot of us will have to go through one window.
And into the river. It's a couple 100 yards wide, Jock. They're going to be onto us before we get far.
Not if we go out quiet enough and quickly enough. Now, come on. Who's first?
I'm easy.
Well, somebody get moving. Those Japs are going to walk in here any tick of the clock. Now, go on. Keep the splashing down.
It's hard to do with these arms, Hammer.
If the Japs wake up to us, we'll have to stay and fight it out.
I told you I had a premonition. I've had my last stoush, Jock.
Now, next out of that window, Charlie. We'll get cracking. That's a lot. So far, so good. Now for me. Are you making out, Charlie?
Come, Jake. Looks like we're going to get away with it. Just as when that moon's gone. See, they're lighting fires, but we'll be too far out in the stream for them to see us now. They didn't wake up to us being there, Jock.
That's the luckiest break we've ever had.
And an unlucky one for them. As soon as it's daylight, we can come down from this other side and give them a bit of hurry up.
Most of the boys is there.
Yeah. Just about time, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not much of a swimmer with a Tommy gun and grenade strapped on my back.
We made it.
Yeah. Still with only about an hour's sleep. I'm going to dust right here, Jock. I'll take a chance on the rheumatics.
Aye, this is far enough away from the Japs for me, too. We've got a river between them and us now. Maybe we can get some sleep. Good night, Charlie.
Good night, Jock. Next time the Japs come, don't bother waking me. I need this sleep too badly. Jock. Jock, wake up.
Oh, I'm still wet. How's the time, Charlie?
Just after dawn. Look, there's the village. No one about there. Quiet as a graveyard. Let's have a closer look up along the bank before the Japs start stirring.
Let's dry off in the sun first, Charlie.
No, let's get along the bank and see what the Japs are up to.
Maybe they're getting their Christmas cake together. Tomorrow will be Christmas Eve, you know, Charlie. Christmas, 1943. Yeah. Well, come on, let's have a look-see. No sign of life there at all, Charlie. All quiet on the Mindanao front. Charlie!
It was a hit-and-run war behind the enemy lines, where Australians continued the fight against the Japanese. Death was ever present, and many Australians fell on those fields far from home. They buried Lieutenant Wagner of Sydney on the hill slope above that river in Mindanao, and the guerrillas named that area Fort Wagner in his memory. And then his companions pushed on, still behind the lines, to continue the fight.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Production, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations. The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. In the Korean War, like most other wars, The folks back home heard most of the major actions, the big advances and retreats, the battles such as Kapyong or Operation Commando. There wasn't much told of the small and isolated actions that were so often the key, opening a way for a major offensive. No, there wasn't much told about those fierce, small-scale battles that were a grim feature of the war in the opening months of 1951, as the United Nations forces used meat grinder tactics to force the massive communist armies back from Seoul and into North Korea. Meat grinder tactics. That was the name strategists gave to the battle technique in which our men handed out a series of single hammer blows on deep-dug, well-prepared and strongly defended communist positions in the rugged southern mountains. One such action was mounted in mid-February 1951, when the 3rd Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, was assigned the task of taking a mountain position to help trap a large force of communist soldiers. That position was marked as Hill 614, and it dominated a rugged mountain terrain in enemy-held territory. Nevertheless, orders went out that the entrenched enemy should be hit quick and hard and routed. It was a bitter action, which became known to Australians in Korea as Operation Mountain Goat, because it entailed some of the hardest climbing in the mountainous Korean War.
Just made it, Joe. Yeah. You ready to hoist the Everest flag, Splinter?
Yeah. Oh, boy. I gotta sit down and take the weight off me ham and beef. Oh, flag. If I'd had to carry one thing extra, even a flag, I'd never have made it. Why didn't you sit down?
Looking at the view. Yeah, this view makes that climb worthwhile.
Yeah, fair dinkum, Joe. You get me in. A bloke your age, what is it, 44, with a pack on that you wouldn't expect a pack horse to carry, and here you are on top of the highest hill in Korea admiring the view.
Plenty higher, Splinter. Look at that one across the valley. That's Hill 614. Over 2,000 feet of it. And with more commas on it than a dog's got fleas. Save your breath for that one.
Yeah, save your breath. Fellow'll only have enough breath to bleed after we finish this, look. Anyway, we ought to bleed. It turned us into mountain goats.
This country's too rough for goats, Splinter. Look down there. Down that cliff.
You know, I don't want to look down there. I've just climbed up it. Anyway, it makes me dizzy.
You were born dizzy. You can't see far down anyway for the mist. I can just see our Korean porters coming along down there. Yeah, they look like flies.
Yeah, and about as helpful as flies, too.
Break it down, Splinter. You wouldn't be able to move if they weren't here to carry our bedding, our blankets, extra ammo and rations. You're doing a good job carrying that stuff across the mountain peaks and ravines. You couldn't get a vehicle into this kind of country.
Yeah, you might if everything wasn't so wet and slippery.
Nah. Mountain goat, that's all you get up here, Splinter. Even after the thaw, you couldn't get a four-wheel drive vehicle to even look at these slopes.
Yeah, and they reckon machines ain't got brains. They line us up, hand us our personal packs, weapons, ammo, grenades, radios, telephones, cables, trenching tools, decorate us like Christmas trees, and point to these mountains and say, "Take a jaunt up to the top of that heap of dirt." And off we go. Brains. Just as well we haven't got any. Maybe the straw that broke the camel's back.
Never mind. Be easier going down the other side.
No, I doubt it. Anyway, there's always another side going up.
Good old Splinter. Always kidding. You thin, wiry blokes thrive on this mountaineering.
Oh, don't even mention the word.
How are you men?
Admiring the view, sir.
Join the army and see the world, eh? You see Hill 614 across there? Savage-looking brute, isn't it?
Yeah. Reminds me of my mother-in-law, sir.
You're safe from her up here. If the mist wasn't so thick, you could see Korea laid out down there. The Han River's up between those peaks. See that group of three? Somewhere about there.
That's where the Yanks are going around on the flank, sir.
Well, that was the plan. But this heavy rain has upset plans, rather. The Han River is flooding, and most of the crossing points have been washed away. They're having their troubles on that flank.
We haven't got any worries from flooding anyway, sir.
Joe always looks on the bright side, sir.
Then I'll say that Joe's sensible. You can't improve any situation by complaining, can you?
Yeah, that don't make these hills any lower, sir.
Or mothers-in-law any sweeter? Never mind. You'll be able to give that hill 614 a nudge with a bayonet as soon as we reach our positions. We have to clear that hill out before we can press on to join the Corps on the other flank.
Not going to be easy, that one, sir.
Nah. Those ridges are so steep and narrow that we can only get one section onto them at a time. However, we'll see what a night's rest will do. Baker Company will have a crack at the hill first thing tomorrow. We'll give one platoon a go at a time.
Baker Company? Which platoon first, sir?
6th platoon, Lieutenant Young's platoon. They can make a frontal attack at first light. Tough assignment. It has to be done. We can't let this hill hold us up, can we?
No, sir.
And what platoon are you chaps from?
The 6th platoon, Baker Company, sir. Just a morning for Joe. Couldn't have picked worse.
Seen better.
I've never seen worse. Knee-deep in snow, raining and 2,000 feet of mountain in front of us, and commos stuck all over it like sultanas in a Christmas pudding.
Lucky we got a bit of mist to cover us.
Yeah, and even that'll go as soon as it gets properly daylight.
Oh, cheer up, Splinter. Might have something to whinge about later, but there's not much wrong with it just yet. There's Mr. Young saddling up. Be on any time now. Yep, we're moving. I tell you the guy we ought to have on our side, Splinter.
Yeah?
That character that made the mountain come to him. He had the right idea.
That's the first bright idea I've heard from you for days. Now, come on, the sooner we get started, the sooner we get it over. This isn't a hill. It's a precipice.
You're right, Splinter. This is the worst hill we've ever tackled. And she gets worse, higher.
Yeah. Everything comes at once. The mist lifts and the scrub cover runs out. You see any commo positions yet?
Not from where I'm lying, mate. All I can see ahead is a wall of wet rock and muddy yellow clay.
It can't be far off now. We've been climbing for 4 hours.
We'll know soon enough. Commers are somewhere up there, and they've got the drop right on us.
Stop it, you give me shivers up the spine. Got the feeling they've all got their eyes right on the top of my skull.
I'll pull it in and get cracking. We don't want to be caught up here at night. Come on.
Fatten down, Joe.
Sighted them, Splinter?
Sighted something. So did Mr. Young. He's gone down too.
Yeah, not much use going down up where he is. There's not enough cover to hide a cockroach. Hey, look, Splinter. Do you see that goat put his head up above the dirt? Up there to the right.
Yeah.
Only about 20 feet above Mr. Young. Grinning down at us he was.
He's gone now. I can see the fresh earth. There's probably a whole host of commos in trenches right about there, and the only way up's by that ridge.
Directly below those first trenches. We're right out in the open as soon as we get onto that ridge, Splinter.
That's right, Joe. What's the matter? Getting stage fright?
The times you pick to be funny. Hey, the lieutenant's beckoning us on. Come on. We're going to have to dash over the last lap. Splinter! Splinter, you all right?
Keep down, you mug! I'm only a bit winded. Grenade blast.
How are the others? Some of the boys copped it. They were waiting to hand it out to us. Whole platoon just broke up like a pack of cards. A couple of the boys rolled down the hillside. How are you feeling now?
I'm okay. We'd better slide back a bit and get some cover, eh?
Yeah. Keep well down. Slip down now. Backwards. Mr. Young's having a look at a couple of the boys. I think one of the lads has bought it. I can't see his face, but I don't like the way he's lying. They got the walkie-talkie going. I reckon we'll be calling for some air support.
Chopper, Joe!
Yeah, looks like a Yank Marine helicopter. Down he comes. Hey, and the commies are firing at him. Come on, let's keep their heads down. Give them a burst. I'm not doing any good, but those slugs are going somewhere.
They've got 4 of our blokes onto the chopper. They've got some guts, those chopper boys. You got to hand it to them.
They're off. Good luck to them. Come on, slide down the slope. Mr. Young's waving us back. Here come our jets. Come on, speed up a bit. This hill might heat up any time now.
certainly hope those fly boys know where the target is.
They're onto it. You reckon Hill 614 was an active volcano, eh, Splinter?
Nothing's going to live through that lot, Joe.
We'll be going up there when the Air Force moves out, and there'll be no commos with a drop on us this time.
Sure stinks, that napalm, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah, but it does the job. She's quiet as a cemetery now.
Cemetery's right. Come on, let's slip back a bit. It's likely to be our own cemetery unless we get under some cover. Quick, smart.
You wouldn't credit it, would you? The jet's pouring the napalm and the hill burns like she's in brandy sauce. You wouldn't reckon anything could live. And up come the Reds again, large as life. Hey, look over there, Splinter. That's Corporal Silk. He's taking another section up that other ridge.
He'll never do it, Joe. That ridge is as bare and as steep as a telephone pole.
Yeah, but he is doing it. Him and his boys are going to creep right up on him soon. Another few yards and you're home, boys. Keep at him. Ah, the commos were waiting for him just like they waited for us. Look at those boys go down. Stretcher bearers!
Not much use calling for stretchers, Joe. Couldn't handle them on that slope. Looks like Hill 614 is going to be a real snag.
Hill 614 was one of those problem hills to be faced, fought, and conquered as the United Nations armies pressed on with the meat grinder tactics. So early on this rain-soaked Korean morning of February the 24th, 1951, this hill had already cost 2 Australian lives and 8 men seriously wounded, without the battalion gaining even a foothold on the precipitous slopes. It seemed that the communists were secure in their mountain fortress, whose steep and narrow approaches were bare of cover, and so steep the slopes that the wounded men in some cases slid to the bottom. However, Hill 614 had to be taken, or the major strategy aimed at encircling a large body of enemy troops would be a failure. And so, withdrawing to lick their wounds, the Australians rested in the snow-choked valley at the base of the hill. Then, next day...
Hear what I hear, Joe? Jets. That means more napalm.
Fried rice on Hill 614 today.
Yeah, but I want to go deeper than they did yesterday.
There they go. On top of the mountain alight. Just one big bonfire. You wouldn't reckon anything could live through that lot, Splinter.
Yeah, I'm glad it's them chows up there combing it, not me, Joe.
Never thought I'd see rock burning, but there she is.
And there go the shells over.
Got the artillery onto the job too, eh? Hill 614 is getting a real softening up, mate.
Should have had it before. We had a crack at it yesterday.
Ah, we had to feel them out first.
They finished up feeling us out.
That was yesterday.
Don Company's turn today, isn't it?
Yeah. There they are over there near the mortars. 12th platoon. Lieutenant Ward.
Well, they're welcome to it. She's as crook a hill as I've ever seen. Come to think of it, I'm probably insulting my ma-in-law by tying her up with it.
Don't go weak on us now. You're going to need all your strength. We're in reserve, you know. Look at that shelling. You're really laying it on now.
Mortar's having a chop, too.
Napalm, shells, and mortars. Those commas are really getting the treatment. But after yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised to see them bob up again today. I reckon they got hoochies dug into that hill like rabbit warrens.
With concrete lining and steel tops.
Could be. Wouldn't mind betting they've got tunnels in there that go clean through the hill. Well, we'll soon find out.
How?
When we take the hill, of course.
Nothing like a little optimism.
Provided it's backed up with plenty of artillery, air support, and fast bayonet work. They're certainly laying the artillery on.
Glad I didn't have to carry the ammo up to turn this on.
That's where those South Korean carriers come in handy. Would have been mighty hard yakka lumping all the stores and equipment on this jaunt. Seems like the end of the overture. Got your dancing pumps on? Looks like we're on stage any time now.
Yeah, boys are moving. There goes Lieutenant Ward with 12th platoon.
There's Len Opie, too. He's got a mighty section there with what's-his-name Hughes and Charlie Thorban. Well, better douse your smoke. We'll be moving after they get ahead a bit.
I'm still stiff from yesterday. I hit the ground like a sack of wheat when that grenade come bowling at me.
I'll make sure you go down just as quick today. They've probably got the grenades stacked up in their trenches like the Barrow boys stack up the apples and oranges.
Good ones on the top?
None of those commo grenades were mine. I don't want them. You can have my share. Hey, come on. Our platoon's moving. Yeah, we'd have some show if we had this cover all the way up. But I reckon we're lucky to have this much after that napalm fire's been over the position. Look at it, still smoking up there.
Yeah. Turn over like a plowed paddock, Joe.
Trouble is, Splinter, it's mostly rock. Shells just bounce off those cliff faces. How are those Don Company boys making out?
They shifted down to first gear now. Any minute they'll be doing the old hand-over fist routine. And they'll be pulling each other up by the scruff of the neck. Remember, pal? Same as we did yesterday.
I remember it. Well, we're not in such a hurry.
Yeah.
We can take our time.
Yeah. Like Tarzan, swinging up from bush to bush. One consolation is we haven't got to leap from rock to rock like mountain goats.
Don't you be too sure, Splinter. Could be there's some real fast hopping ahead of us today.
I don't think so, Sport. Just got the feeling inside that that napalm and that shelling hit the spot today.
Maybe. A couple of hours climbing will show us how right you are, or how wrong. How is this rain? I reckon this is where we go to Earth. Yeah, platoon leader's waving us down. Oh, my aching back.
For an old-timer, you don't do so bad, Joe.
Hang on. I'll light a match and bet you 2 bob you can't blow it out.
You might win. Hill 614. I can carve it on me tombstone. I'll just close my eyes, and you can tell me how the Don Company boys are making out, Joe.
Big crowd at Randwick today, and the horses are lined up at the barrier. Jockeying for positions. See Corporal Opie in a good position on the inside. Next to him is Private Hughes, Private... Hey, Splinter, it's on!
The commos are just rolling grenades down like marbles.
Napalm and shells, eh? How wrong can you get?
They must have trapdoors over their hoochies, Joe. It's supernatural.
Nothing supernatural about those grenades they're rolling down. Look at them bouncing like cricket balls.
And right in among the boys.
But the boys are still heading up, Splinter. They're wriggling up like snakes.
The approaches are too narrow. Keep down, fellas!
Relax, son. They're keeping down. See? They can only go up that approach one at a time. Oh, how can those grenades miss them?
They're bouncing right over them, mate. Right over them. I tell you wouldn't read about it. You just wouldn't read about it. Oh, how's their form? How's their beautiful high-class form?
Who is it leading the charge?
Len Opie, I'd say. Lean Len Opie. He's got Hughes and Thorburn with him. And they're among the commos. They're right into him.
Hey, keep down, Splinter. Those boys are doing the fighting for the present. Our turn comes next. How are they making out?
You could ask the army for glasses. You old codgers always crack up at the wrong time.
Oh, codger me and I'll thump you here and now. Look at the load of dust in my eyes from that last grenade burst. Now, how are they making out?
Len Opie and his 2 mates are almost at that first commo trench. And the commos are tossing grenades at them like confetti. Oh, did you see it? Did you see it?
Great mug, of course I didn't see it. What did you see?
Commo jumps up out of the trench and he's got 3 grenades. And he throws one at Len and Len whips it up and tosses it back. Oh, man alive! Hughes, get down! Get down!
What is it, you galah?
Then Opie gives that commo a taste of his own grenade. And another commo comes up out of the ground like a skyrocket. And a bird gun aimed right at Hughes' back. But Charlie Thorburn shoved his bayonet through the red. And that's another one gone. Oh, man, why aren't we up there in that lot?
Because our orders are to stay here in reserve. That's why we're here.
Oh, but look at him mixing it up there. Right over the commo positions. Then Opie's lost his gun, or he's out of ammo. He's whipped that bird gun off the commo to Charlie Thorburn down. He's pouring it into him with it. And they're going over like bottles at the brewer's picnic. Another gun. He's used up all the ammo in that commo gun and he's grabbed up another one now. Look at him go!
Yeah, I'm starting to be able to see a bit now. Yeah, well, they've piled up some bodies up there. Look, Splinter, up to the right. Look on your right, commos!
I've seen them, Joe. They're onto him. Look at Hughes go! Oh, he's firing his Bren gun from the hip, and those commos on that knot are going down!
If he took it more slowly, he'd get more. See, they're going to earth, those Chinese. They'll get some of our blokes if they aren't careful. Look, there goes a grenade towards Hughes. It'll get him.
Yeah, it got him. He's down. Len Opie's still going.
He's into that other pack of Chinese, and they're running. Oh, he's pouring it into him. Oh, brother, what a blow, what a mighty stoush.
Hughes is getting up, Splinter, isn't he? Isn't that him getting onto his knees?
You're right, old-timer. He's getting up, shaking his head, looking around for his friend. He's going into it again, Joe. He's into it again. Oh, brother, when do we get into it?
I'd say right now. The platoon leader's giving us the signal to advance. Come on, let's see if there's any fight left in this hill.
Bo peep of these trenches, Joe. And one of the shells and the napalm didn't shift them.
The bayonet certainly shifted them in a hurry. Look here, with the tucker behind it.
And their weapons and ammo. Say, look at this. Stacks of grenades and carbines. They must have taken off in one mighty great hurry.
Wouldn't you if you saw Opie and his mates coming at you with a bayonet fixed?
Yeah, you might have something there at that. Yeah, but they should have been able to stay here forever. These dugouts could keep you, Jake, even if they dropped an atomic bomb.
Might be right of that. But the setup didn't stop Mr. Ward and Len Opie. Just shows that in the field, you've still got to have the good old infantry and the bayonet. Atomic bombs might be all right, but you've still got to have the blokes to go in and finish off the fight. And that's the hardest part of the deal. They don't like losing this hill.
No. Building the stuff at us. I must say it doesn't have much effect on this good old Chinese workmanship. Yeah, sounds as though they're going to try a return party.
Good idea. And they'll have some idea what it's like coming up that bare razorback ridge.
Yeah, they really want this old hill 614.
It's understandable. It's the highest hill on this flank. Whoever holds it holds this part of the country. The commissar's probably had the word from Peking about that. He's urging his mates to come back up the hill and pass on his views. Come on. Let's have a look out of this bunker and hear what they've got to say.
And pass on a reply, eh? What a fella should do is to give him a bit of a bar like a mountain goat.
Here they come. Grab your Bren and some of those comic grenades. They're the mountain goats this time. We're the guys who's going to round them up. Let's get going.
The enemy tried to retake the vital Hill 614, but the steep, bare slopes defeated them, and the Australians easily withstood the counterattacks, and then, with a Canadian battalion, took the neighboring heights, so that this area of hill peaks came into United Nations hands, thus opening another route to the north. It was only a piecemeal part of the major strategy of slowly grinding the enemy out of his many strongpoints, but it revealed the true fighting spirit of the Australian soldier and his heroism. For his dramatic role in the action at Hill 614, Corporal Len Opie, a tall, slim soldier from South Australia, who earlier in the war had distinguished himself, was awarded the DCM. Of the action as a whole, the brigadier in command said it was an excellent job, perfectly executed. In the overall plan, Operation Mountain Goat took the forces of freedom one slow but sure step towards the north.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations. The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. The war in Korea bore a strange and terrible resemblance at times to World War I. While peace discussions at Panmunjom dragged on for 2 years, the opposing armies settled down into strongly defended positions. The Allied line went like a scenic railway along ridges and mountain peaks, commanding fields of fire across valleys and paddy fields. Tanks were dug in at strategic points to cover patrols across no man's land. Artillery duels of the intensity of World War I pounded the trench lines. Under those bombardments, and emerging at night for patrols, lived Australian soldiers in sandbag dugouts similar to those their fathers occupied in Gallipoli and France. Steel helmets became standard frontline gear, except for patrols. One Korean battle which bore a marked similarity to the Gallipoli campaign was fought in June 1952, when the 1st Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, first met the enemy in strength in an action known as Operation Blaze. In many ways, it resembled the assault on the formidable Lone Pine entrenchments carried out on Gallipoli in 1915. The Lone Pine entrenchments on Gallipoli were covered by an entanglement of wire and provided with overhead cover, as were the positions held by the Chinese on Hill 227 in Korea. In that gallant assault on those covered trenches on Gallipoli, it seemed for a time physically impossible for the attacking Australians to penetrate the trench covering of pine planking up through which spat enemy fire. Yes, there was a strange similarity with that historic battle and this other battle which took place in Korea. As their fathers had done on the eve of that assault on Lone Pine, the Australians of the 1st Battalion waited in the sandbag trenches for the signal to begin.
What are you sitting there thinking about, Snowy? That girlfriend you left back in Sydney?
Oh, no, I was just thinking.
Oh, I remember her well. That day we marched through the city. Every bloke in the battalion was onto her. She kept running along down Martin Place there, blowing kisses. I blew her one back myself. But you don't mind, do you, Snowy?
Oh, be your age, Spud. She was only a girl I met on leave. You know how it is.
Yeah, sure, I know. We didn't see many like that out around Billabong Springs. What were you thinking of, mate? You're always sitting around somewhere thinking to yourself.
Well, Spud, if you really want to know, I was thinking how unlucky some poor coots can be.
Yeah?
Yeah. You remember that first day we came into the line?
I'll say. 19th of June. Yeah, I missed the sweepstake on it by 1 day.
Well, you remember that Chinese who stood up to have a look at us from his own lines?
Remember him? Oh, I'll say. I bet he'll remember us, too. Machine gunners hosed him down like you'd hose down a draft mare on a hot day back home.
And that's what I mean. That's how poor coot can be unlucky. If we hadn't just arrived in the lines, we mightn't have been so keen to bowl him over.
Bad luck? Sure, it was bad luck for him. It was good luck for us. He was the first one that the old 1st Battalion bagged. Kind of makes him historic, doesn't it?
And that's one way of looking at it, I suppose.
One way? It's the only way of looking at it. That's what we came over here for, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right, Spud. But I just got to thinking about that Como and wondering if he sort of got sick of being stuck down in trenches like we are. Living in a sandbagged hoochie, like living in a cave.
Don't notice you're complaining when the Reds are pelling that artillery and mortar stuff across.
Oh, I'm not complaining, Spud. I'm just sort of thinking about it all. Remembering what my old man used to tell me about what it was like on Gallipoli. Like this, I reckon.
But she's cosy here, Snowy. You can brew up a cuppa when you feel like it and lie back for a bit of a snore off while they're shelling.
It affects different blokes differently. You're a bloke who's been out in the open all his life.
Yeah, boundary riding. Do me.
And I've been in an office. And yet it's me that doesn't like the hemmed-in feeling. You see what I mean, Spud?
I see what you're driving at, but I don't know what you're complaining about. You're going to have all the open air you want in about a quarter of an hour's time.
Yeah, I suppose that's what got me thinking, Spud. This'll be the first time we've really had a cracking career, and I'm wondering how we'll go.
Forget it. We'll go like steam. You heard what the company commander said. All we've got to do is for A Company to duck across that there no man's land.
In daylight?
Sure, in daylight. Then we slip into the Chinese trenches across there on that hill 227, drag a few prisoners out, kill a few more, and then come home.
That's all?
Well, it doesn't worry me. Look at it this way, Snowy. They've given us this body armor, this Yank stuff, and we've got these flamethrowers to burn the Reds up with. Look, I tell you, she'll be a beauty. And you've got Major Thompson out there in front to lead the way. Now, what more could you want?
The only thing I want is to be built like you, Spud. The trouble is, I'm a warrior.
I think you're Robinson Crusoe, sport. Just because a bloke shoots his mouth off a bit doesn't mean he isn't worrying. But worrying never got the nag fed and groomed. Anyway, we came here to do a job, and I'd just as soon get on with it.
Me too.
A Company assault and demolition platoon, stand to.
And there she is.
Line up at the barrier, eh? Tell you something, Snowy. I could do with a couple of pints of beer.
All right, men. You've heard Major Thompson. Now, we're going over the top, so keep your heads and don't forget to bring back some prisoners. Now, you men with the flamethrowers, keep behind the assault platoons until you're within range. You men in the demolition platoons, make sure you get the maximum effect from your explosives. Now, the supporting barrows will open up in exactly 8 seconds' time. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2... Hang on! Okay, fellas, here we go, and good luck!
How you making out, Snowy?
I feel better out here than in those bunkers. The boys still coming?
Yeah, the commies have got their heads down.
Is that so? And what are those things whistling around my ears? Canaries?
There's a bit of stuff coming. Nothing like I expected. See? We're on the slope of the hill already.
I'll tell you something, Spud. Those trenches up ahead of us aren't occupied.
Don't see any sign of life around them. I'll tell you what. A couple I can see up there that are well occupied. Down! Water!
It's close.
I saw it coming. It's like a big old crow getting up off a dead cow. Saw him coming right over the skyline. Yeah, I reckon you're right about those Chinese bunkers lower down. They've withdrawn from them, but I can tell you for sure there's plenty of Reds in those bunkers up on the crest of this hill.
That fire came from the flank.
Yeah, that's right. And once we get up to the top of this hill, we'll give them a bit of it back.
I saw those coming that time.
You weren't scared though, were you? You reckon this body armor will stop grenade flak?
It may be. I've seen a couple of sets of this body armor returned back to the Q store. And I tell you, the holes in them weren't made by white ants.
Way she's heating up now, we might have a chance to test them out. Looks like we do the rest of the trip on our bellies.
Well, the flame-throwing boys are coming up behind us, all right. As soon as we get into range, we'll give those canaries something to think about.
Cook their rice on, you mean?
Could be. Mortar coming!
Come on! Up! Up! The Major's calling us onto those empty bunkers. Not so far to the top now. She's been easier than we expected.
That's right. Hey, look, there's 4 of these bunkers empty. The commos have pulled right out of them. I wonder why.
I'd say there'd be an extra good reason. I'd say they've all gone into those 2 bunkers right on the crest of the hill.
Looks mighty like it. The fire that's coming from those 2 now.
It's like when you're going after rabbits, burning them out, or with the dogs. They leave their kitten holes and all get into the big warrens so they can get right down the bottom and the fire doesn't worry them. That'll be the form here, I reckon. We're awake up to our flamethrowers.
Well, there's the Major out again. He's calling on us. Come on, Spud.
Those chinks don't like us, mate.
I'd say you're right. They're going to like us even less when we get close up to them. I reckon this is just the distance for a few grenades, Spud. What do you say?
Suits me. Come on, we'll toss some over. Try that for size!
How's that for a throw-in from the outfield?
You beaut! Dead on it. Sign you up for the Billabong Springs first 11. Come on, the Major's calling us on for the final sprint. They're whacking her out now, Snowy.
I'll say they are. But what puzzles me is why our grenades haven't quietened them down. Can you see any of them yet?
Not a sign. All I can see is where they've turned the earth over on top of the bunker. Not even a Chinese skull to be seen. Yes, Snowy. Lying here, I got a funny sort of feeling.
Yeah?
I got a feeling that these Reds are going to be mighty hard.
Could be right. But they've given away 4 of their 6 bunkers already.
That's it, Sport. That's the giveaway. Like I said before, they left the bunkers they couldn't defend and got themselves tucked away into these couple they reckon we can't ship them out of.
We'll soon see about that. The Major's calling the flamethrowers up. What's this?
Sure, but from closer up. Come on, let's get up with those boys and see what gives. Look at that, Snowy. Just take a squint at that. No wonder our grenades weren't doing the Reds much harm. See it?
I see it. They've got the top of those 2 bunkers covered in.
The flames can't get in. Those Reds are sitting under there like rabbits in a warren.
Except these bunnies are having a shot back. Where's that commo firing from?
Up the slope. Higher up the hill there. That'll be where the entrance is. Why don't they throw the flames in there? That'd scorch the commos out.
Well, I'll give you the answer to that one. The commos have got that entrance well under fire. Step in front of that and you're a dead bunny.
There's only one thing to do, I'd say.
Sure. Just like the Major's doing. Start and dig down into the commo bunkers.
As at the Lone Pine on Gallipoli, the attacking Australians in Korea found that the enemy bunkers on the hill to be captured had been covered so that the assaulting troops found they could not reach the enemy. But the enemy could fire at them from the security of his protected dugout. At Gallipoli, the Australians were determined to take the trenches, and groups of them bodily lifted the pine planks, and soldiers vaulted into the trenches and there attacked the enemy in hand-to-hand fighting until the trenches were cleared. On Hill 227 in Korea, when the Australians of the 1st Battalion reached the crest, they found the trenches so covered that grenades and flamethrowers were unable to penetrate and subdue the Chinese soldiers who continued firing from below. Number 1 platoon of A Company of the 1st Battalion was in the forefront of the attack, and the Australians in armoured vests trampled over the covered-in trenches looking for targets, while others sought a way to penetrate the heavy covering protecting the Chinese communists.
Righto! A few of you fellas across here. Get to work with your entrenching tools. See if you can dig through and down to these bunkers. Come on at the double!
Pretty deep here, Snowy.
They've got rock and timber. We'll never shift it with entrenching tools.
Keep at it, mate. Either we dig them out or they chase us back down the hill.
Talk about digging rabbits.
No time for talking. Yeah, and I reckon this cover's a few feet thick. No wonder they ducked out of these other bunkers.
Hold it for a sec. The blokes from number 1 section are going to try a frontal attack. They're making their way around the side of the ridge.
That's really looking for strife. The entrance of these bunkers will really be rugged stuff. The Chinese will have every gun, mortar and grenade they've got waiting for some of our blokes to show their faces at the entrance.
Nobody's got any illusions about that. But those blokes are still heading round that way. They're almost level with the entrance now. There they go. Well, they must go down. Commos are tossing a lot of them. They're still going in.
Two of them made it, Snowy. 2 of them got through that lot. They must have been hit. Come on, let's give them a hand.
There, come on, boys!
Get down, Snowy! Let's murder to stand up in front of that entrance.
Yeah, I can see that, but the blokes have gone down. You see the 2 lads who got in?
Yeah, I can see them all right. They're both down. Wounded, I'd say, by the way they're lying. We'll have to get to them quick, smart. You see any commos in the bunker?
No. All I can see is the flash of their guns firing and their mortars and grenades coming out.
Keep down now! There's something on. Platoon commander spinning along on top of the bunker. See? Here he comes. Hells, bells! What was that?
I don't know, but it was inside the bunker.
Platoon commander's disappeared. He's vanished off the earth.
That bunker's collapsed, Spud, that's why. Something went off inside there with one mighty bang and blew the roof in. He just happened to be on top at the wrong time.
Come on, then. Let's see if we can find him. Look at that hole, will you? There he is, down among that wreckage. Looks okay. Yeah, he's Jake. He's climbing out.
Oh, more than the commos who were in there can do.
Yeah, they're chop suey by now. The flame-throwing boys are giving it the final taste. Their mates in that other bunker are having a go now. Keep down, Snowy! Yeah, they're well covered, too.
Where does this other bunker run from? All I can see is the turned dirt.
Follow that. You see? See, she runs at right angles from this one that just blew up. Yeah, we'd better have another go at digging down through the top cover. No joy here, Snowy. Got themselves dug in like Hitler wasn't in. What's its name? You need dynamite to ship them out of here.
Yeah. Well, the demolition platoon should be able to arrange that.
Yeah. Providing you can persuade the commoners to let up with their burp guns and grenades while the lads plant the charge. Here come the rest of the company across. All of us together should be able to dig these bunnies out.
All right, men. Let's concentrate on this bunker. That other bunker's harmless now. We'll give this one the treatment. Bring up those flamethrowers up here. One up here to this bunker. It's a double now.
Tell you what. All the company gets on top here, we'll do something. What's happening?
Jump, Spud! She's going in!
And I'm riding it down like Lance Skinthorpe. Oh, there!
She's falling all along the line! Come on, fellas, there's the commos! You right, Spud?
Sure. Was me weight, did it? Come on, Al. Let's flush these reds out. Rest of the boys are racing up now. Frightened they'll miss the fun, eh? From what I can see, they've missed it all right.
Drop, Spud! That cow had you all lined up with his birth gun.
Thanks, mate. That's a schooner I owe you when we get back home. Now, let's look around. See if there's any more of these bright boys lying dog out. They're as tricky as a cat with kittens. Never know where they'll hide a grenade while they pretend to be dead.
Most of these aren't pretending.
Yeah, they're playing for keeps. That flamethrower takes all the kick out of them. No wonder we couldn't dig them out. Look across here, see?
Wouldn't it?
Certainly would. It came up out of the side of the hill through that tunnel. Now, what did she be? 2 foot square?
Wouldn't be any more. And she goes down pretty steep, too. I'll have a look.
Just stay back for a minute or so, mate, until one of the boys with the flamethrower sterilizes it a bit. That's cleaned her out. Now have a look down if you want to. How does she look to you?
Like the inside of a baker's oven. I can see light at the other end now. The smoke's clearing. Yeah. She leads down at about a 30-degree angle to that other bunker. The commos could move up about on this hill crest with cover above them to protect them from shelling or anything else.
Except Spud Murphy and he's 16 stone.
He must have struck a weak spot.
Tell you what, Corporal Taylor's section out there didn't strike any weak spot.
No, they're really copping it. Well, how long have we been on the hill now?
Time's sort of flown, but I reckon we've been here over an hour.
And Corp Taylor's section's been sitting out there in the opening, ready to cut off the commo retreat if they ran. They got blokes lying there who look like they've copped it too.
That'd be a moral, I'd say. You don't set a section down out in the open in broad daylight to draw enemy fire without copping some corner. Looks like you could do with some assistance right now.
Well, what makes you think so? From where I'm looking up here, he appears to have knocked out a few commo machine guns.
The way those mortar bombs are falling around him, he's not exactly in the most healthy spot on the Korean front. Come on, we'll cover his withdrawal.
So that's what it's like in action.
If it's not the real thing, it's a pretty good imitation. wouldn't say it was a screaming success.
No. 4 of our blokes dead and 34 wounded.
Yeah. That was tough. I wasn't meaning that. I meant we didn't get any prisoners.
Killed a whole lot of commos, though, Spud.
Sure. That was only part of the job. We were supposed to bring some back alive.
That turned out to be impossible.
Snowy?
What is it, Spud?
That Lone Pine battle you were telling me about at Lone Pine. The one your old man was in.
Yeah? Well, the one I was saying was a bit like this stash today.
Yeah, that's the one. Snowy, did those diggers get any prisoners out of that blue?
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I'm pretty certain they got some.
Yeah. There, you see? The old diggers were tougher. They got a job, they did it.
Oh, break it down, Spud. That show was different. There were 3, maybe 4 Australian battalions in that blue at the Lone Pine. There's only 1 company of us in this show today.
Don't like it, Snowy. Just don't like it. Those old blokes were mighty tough soldiers. I've often heard old codgers say that. And I'm inclined to believe it until I see different.
Who's that?
It's me, sport. What are you doing sitting here? Thinking again?
Could be. I was waiting for you to get back to the hoochie.
I was up at company headquarters waiting for that Chinese artillery to let up. Something stirred the little yellow man up tonight.
That's for sure. Well, that's what I was sitting here waiting for you. I wanted to be first to tell you.
Yeah?
You remember we were talking about that action on Hill 227? The one where we missed out getting a single prisoner?
I remember. It stuck in me gizzard.
Well, you heard Lance Corporal McCarthy took a section of Charlie Company out tonight.
No, Dave McCarthy?
Yeah, Dave McCarthy. He took a fighting patrol out tonight.
Half his luck.
And run into an ambush.
Tough? Knocked off?
No. He and his section ran into this ambush out there. A big mob of Chinese were dug in along a ridge overlooking a creek down there. And they were strung out like geese when the commos opened up.
Yeah? Not nice.
Well, so Mac yells out to his section to charge, and up the side of the creek they go, throwing grenades and firing from the hip. And the Chinese took off, leaving a couple of dead uns behind and 2 pretty cook wounded.
What a turn-up.
Yeah, and he chased the Chinese right back to their main line of defence. And stood on top of the red trench and threw all the grenades he had left into the trench and then emptied his Tommy gun into them too.
You beauty, Mac. You'll do me for a rough old mate.
And then he set off back through no man's land.
Still looking for trouble?
Nothing else. And he comes face to face with a big Chinese soldier armed to his yellow teeth. Because Mac's got no grenades or ammo left, he grabs this red character by the throat before he can open fire. And throws him then, takes his rifle off him and 3 grenades.
What a man.
Quite a man. And he wheels the big commo around and takes him back to where the rest of his patrol is waiting, and they bring the Chinese back in as a prisoner.
You wouldn't read about it, Snowy. Wouldn't read about it in 1,000 years. Nice work, eh? I reckon those blokes at the Lone Pine might have dipped the old lid to that one, eh, Snowy? You know, it makes me feel a whole lot better somehow.
And so the 1st Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, first met the enemy in strength and took their first prisoner. In so many ways did their war resemble that war of artillery duels and patrols in no man's land and trench fighting in Gallipoli and France. And in so many ways it was apparent that the digger of the Korean War was the son of the digger who fought in World War I.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations.